Hi, I'm John Weber, the UC Santa Cruz Arts Division, and I worked with this year's graduating students from the Digital Art New Media Master of Fine Arts program to curate their final MFA exhibition. It's the culmination of 2 years of intensive research and study, working with senior faculty of the division and each other to produce the exhibition you're about to see.
Hi, my name is Parul Wadhwa and my piece is called Sandbox of Memory. It's a virtual reality installation about a partition refugee and his descendant. So the way the viewers are able to interact is that they get into an experiential journey where they interact with all these documents that the refugee left behind. They're able to play with it, they get into the environment, they're able to feel all these documents, they're able to hear audio narratives behind each of the documents and the stories of the partition refugee. Almost 1 million people were displaced during the partition of India, and a border line was drawn between India and Pakistan way back in 1947 on the basis of religion. My piece is just bringing forth one of those stories, of those million stories from the past, and trying to talk about memory, trauma, and healing.
Wow, that was amazing. Seeing it on screen was one thing, but actually having the headset on brought a whole new level of immersion and intimacy to the piece, which really brought out the historical precedence that the story that she's trying to tell is.
My name is Ian Mark Newman. I'm in the DANM MFA program, and this is my piece, Gross Domestic People of the 21st Century. It's a transmedia archive, and right now we have some prints and some running video. I started at just photographing homeless people in Santa Cruz, and then my direction and attention kind of focused on the labor movement. And I was a union organizer for 5 years, so it has me thinking about kind of what the image of a contemporary worker is. And so that's the consistent question when I collaborate with people, and because these are all completely constructed, but they're constructed in a process between the subject when you find them in their environment, their working environment. It's a sample, it's a selection from the larger archive, which has many cross sections of workers from different parts of society, but they're all housed in this idea that there's an instability to the industry. So industries that are going through change have a really interesting effect, I think, on people and who they kind of portray and who they perform. So it's a negotiated type of performance with my more recent work, and that play between the amazing things that August Sonder had taught me through, and I had studied in depth in this program, was how using digital technologies, for example, we would make the control of the portrait like a telematic experience.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Moffat, and this is my piece called We're All the Same But Different. It is inspired by my experience of discovering how animals are treated that are deemed consumable property. I wanted to tell my own story so that I could relate to other people who might be going through the same journey or have not started their journey yet, but are interested in starting that journey, or maybe people who just didn't know about how the animals in our society are treated that we consume. That was my kind of inspiration, and I really didn't want it to be another animal rights video that just shows you the cruelty that happens to them. I wanted it to be a very relatable, humanistic experience, which is why I decided to work in animation and stop motion.
My name is Corinne Knight, and my project is called Presence Interference. This project is an investigation into making visible the invisible imprints that we all make within our environment through what you might call an aura or biophotonic emission. My project attempts to make people conscious of their body and how their imprint on the world may cause more disruption than they realize. I've been doing a lot of research into biophotonic emission, which scientists are researching as the particle responsible for the transmission of information between cells in our DNA, which is responsible for genetic memory, how we have inherited traits and memories from past generations, and how we imprint onto the world, the world imprints onto us, and then we pass on that information to future generations. This project showcases a photo animation made from long exposure light painting photography that I created by wearing a lot of LED lights on my body and then traversing the environment to imprint my presence onto that environment. I then projected that animation onto a geodesic dome that is more aligned with a satellite dish, where the participant of the show will come and interact with the space and imprint their presence onto that dome and see a noisy feedback reflection of themselves into that environment. Therefore questioning, what does our presence mean? Is it really interference? Are we really aware of the moment that we occupy? And how does that make us feel?
Hello, my name is Colleen Jennings. This is my piece, Virtual Apparitions. This piece is about relationships over a network distance. The distance is calculated by how far the network goes. So these people are traveling through satellite and server farms until they reach the person on the other side. And what I've done is I've built this physical wall to manifest their bodies as a physical shape, but I can't achieve true physicality with them here. I was inspired to start building on this piece because I was really interested in manifesting virtual bodies. So the face is my face. It's a replica built from a 3D scan that has been softened, and then it's been painted to accept the form of my friends and family's faces on top of it. I asked my friends and family questions about their relationships to other people through social media, and then questions about their relationship to me. And then I project them on this wall to give them space to talk about those things.
Hi, I'm Christoph Ivans, Digital Arts and New Media MFA candidate at UC Santa Cruz. I've recently put up an exhibition of Cryosphere, Frozen in Time, which looks at geological time of glaciers and the lifespan of humans. I began shooting glaciers in 1988, and that was my first experience on a glacier, on Gulkana Glacier in Northern Warfare training in Alaska. And that was my first experience with a 35mm camera. And I fell in love with photography, I fell in love with glaciers, and have been endeavoring to photograph them ever since. So I've put together an exhibit of some of the glaciers that I have photographed and videoed and done time-lapse of in a multimedia exploration of glaciers. One glacier in my exhibit has reduced in size 48% since the Little Ice Age, which is about 200 years ago. And most of that has reduced in size in my lifetime. I'm exhibiting images of glaciers in an unusual way, trying to show the audience what it might be like to go back in time, what the experience of the glacier is. One glacier, Hubbard Glacier, which is in my exhibit, we see advancing ice, and it is one of 5% of glaciers in Alaska still advancing. So we're seeing in our lifetime a huge change in the landscape. Geological time has sped up and is going 10 times as fast as it's ever gone. So I've been fortunate at UC Santa Cruz to work with professor and staff who work in earth and planetary sciences, and are on an annual basis going to Antarctica, and they've been willing to work with me on figuring out ways to capture volumetric motion data of glaciers as they calve into frozen fjords, which the hypothesis is that these frozen fjords actually slow down calving of these glaciers. So some interesting work in the future, and which has a lot of repercussions on the world and the near future of the world as we're living through it.
I'm Boas. I'm a student in the Digital Arts and New Media program here at UC Santa Cruz. My project is No in Disguise. It's a collaboration with my partner, Chris Blackmore. I started this project 2 years ago, actually, right when I came to the program here at UC Santa Cruz. I was looking mostly at ways to data mine a lot of selfies because I wanted to collage them and play with them and see what I could do. So I started learning some Python programming, and I needed to find a place to find selfies. Well, the OkCupid dating website had a lot of selfies on it, but through a conversation with Chris, she pointed out that there's a lot more on that website than just images. People answer lots of questions about themselves in order to get matched with potential dates. Some are pretty innocuous, like what's your favorite type of ice cream, or what music do you like? Are you a morning person? But there are a few that are far less innocuous. There's one question that it's the words no means no, and then you have 4 options. There's one option that says always, and then there's 3 options that say different degrees of not always. There's also a question, is there a circumstance in which someone's obligated to have sex with you? So it became clear that working with OkCupid's data programmatically was going to be very powerful to have conversations about consent that weren't happening offline, weren't happening in the mainstream very much. So what we did was we created a profile for a fake woman named Emily. So Chris would then perform as Emily and would speak to them and chat with them on OkCupid. And after the conversation had gone on for a while, she would ask them, hey, I saw in your questions that you said no doesn't always mean no. I'm kind of curious why you think that. And rather than getting very defensive or backing out of the conversation, most people actually engaged with her on this. And the conversations around consent and what gray areas mean, at least to heterosexual men in the United States, the conversations were very, very nuanced. I started working with volunteer men to go on camera and read transcripts of these conversations with me. So they would perform as the people who Chris had spoken to online. They would read the conversations, and then I sliced up their interviews and wrote a program to randomly combine their facial features so that every time a viewer would watch this video of these interviews being read, they would see a randomized collection of facial features so that it's never the same face twice, it's never just one person saying these words. So the installation you see here, there's a video that on the right shows the responses, me talking to people about what they just read and having a discussion with them. On the left is the collage of images that are the readings of the OkCupid chat transcripts. And then there are 3 iPods here on which you can explore what's a mock version of the OkCupid app where you can see all of the conversations that Chris held with men online in full. So it's all the source material for the project.
My name's Tony. My background's in digital media, visual art, and costume design. This project is called Gaze Relations. It compares how people and computer vision algorithms see. On the left side, you're seeing the image being reconstructed through someone's gaze. So what I did is I popped up an image on a screen and recorded how the person saw it, and then resampled each part of the image that the person was looking at and reconstructed this image. On the right side, you're seeing how a computer vision algorithm sees the body. So in comparison, this computer vision algorithm breaks up the body into these black and white patterns that form a computational model of the body. So trying to contextualize surveillance and computer vision within the discourse of gaze. These walls are painted this way, and I'm wearing these clothes and have bleached my hair to sort of match how a computer reads a world. So again, comparing surveillance to the discourse of gaze.
My name is Ann Altstadt, and my work in this MFA show is a crystalline quilt for the thick present. My inspiration came from a desire to create a quilt that was in some way a geologic record or a record of climate change. I was interested in depicting multiple temporalities in the landscape. I did an artist residency at the Demio Lane landfill here in Santa Cruz, and through time that I spent at the landfill and materials I collected and conversations I had with the workers at the site, I constructed the installation that you see here in the building, and it is, I think of it as a non-site or an abstract representation of processes in the landfill and for the material transformation. Ideas that I'm working with in this piece is the way that all past moments are tangibly present in the present moment through the way that matter has been organized through different natural, geologic, biologic, and anthropogenic processes. So any time-based process, whether it's the way that a bone grows in a body or the way that a tree takes sunlight to make its body or crystals forming, etc., all carry a trace of the time that elapsed in order for that process to happen. So in that way, those past moments are present in the organization of matter within us and around us. In the work, I have a collection of materials from my time at the Demio Lane landfill, and I have matter that is tangled and entwined and superimposed chaotically, as well as my kind of metaphoric crystal quilt structure, which shows matter as layered and transparent and juxtaposed, but in a more ordered form. And so I'm thinking of these as different orderings of the same material, different stages in the same process, or different physical scales of the same kind of material transformation process.
As you can see, these students are incredibly committed and talented. They embrace video, virtual reality, the internet, computer programming, photography, and digital fabrication as baseline tools and conditions for making art in the 21st century. Yet technology, however omnipresent, is never an end in itself. It's a means to speak about the social and natural worlds and be heard. There's hope here, along with skepticism, critique, anxiety, and fascination. This work testifies, if at times quietly, to the belief that art can challenge the world and should ultimately help change it. Thank you.